get themselves right. The Tigers need to get themselves right. I would not feel so good about that win over Louisville because Louisville's not very good to begin with. And number two, you almost blew that game against Louisville. So they really need a good, solid start to finish win, even though a 2-point win over Virginia tomorrow, as good as Virginia is and as well as they can hold down the scoring, a 2-point win, you would take that over the Cavaliers any day. Today, South Carolina football coach Shane Beamer officially introduced his new special teams coordinator, Joe DeCamillis, coming from the NFL. Well, spent a year at Texas off the field, but most of his, all of his coaching career, his actual hands-on coaching career on the NFL level, and a guy that is renowned for his special teams work during his time in the NFL. We'll hear from both of those coaches tonight. George Bryan III at 7:35 with birdies and bogeys and biceps around the state of South Carolina. So we got all that coming your way. And, of course, we'll recap recruiting as the recruiting season for the 24 class comes to an end this weekend and this coming week. This is the last visitation weekend for the 24 signees. Period. Everything goes dead on Sunday night as far as visits, both on campus and coaches coming to see you. That goes dead for the month of February. So any of the unsigned for the 24 class who have not taken officials and still have some to make, have to make them this weekend. I think, as far as I can tell, best I know, looks like South Carolina Clemson, they're finished with their 24 class in terms of high schoolers. There still could be some transfer portal, John, pickups for, I would say, South Carolina if they feel like they need more. Of course, Clemson hasn't done anything with anybody in the transfer portal, John, to this point. So we'll go over all that in recruiting. And your phone calls, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. Let's welcome in Chris Bergen from up in the mountains of West Virginia. Hope he put his teeth in before he crossed into the state of West Virginia, the home of Jerry West and Hot Rod Hundley and several other famous basketball players of yore. How was your trip? Well, I think the trip must not have been so good. You drive off the side of the mountain. We lose our connection. We've lost our connection. We'll reconnect with Bergie in just a moment. Had a tough game last night, though. The Chanticleers losing big at home and hoping now to go on the road and recover and play a pretty good Marshall team up at their place. You know, Marshall, they love their basketball up there in West Virginia and Marshall. And Marshall has been really, really good over the years, especially back when they were in the Southern Conference, and they would pack their own arena and their players, their fans would travel with them. I can remember covering the Southern Conference tournament in Asheville and Marshall. They just bring a ton of people to that event. So they're very passionate about their basketball up at Marshall. So we'll have Chris on with us here momentarily once he gets reconnected from up in West Virginia. In the meantime, let me catch you up on a few other things of importance because there were a couple of major items today that we need to talk about. One involves the SEC and the Big Ten. So they announced today the formation of a joint advisory group of university presidents, chancellors, and ADs to address significant challenges facing college athletics and opportunities for the betterment of the student-athlete experience. So you knew this was going to be coming down the road at some point in time. The Big Ten, the SEC, would take charge in this situation. My feeling is Greg Sankey wants to be the czar. When this is all said and done, I think Greg Sankey wants to be the head honch over whatever new creation they come up with. And I think that's what he is angling for with the SEC, with their contract with ESPN, with their SEC network. That's just my gut feeling on this thing. This group will have no authority to act independently and will only serve as a consulting body. Its composition, charter, and timetable, as well as the specific questions it might examine have yet to be determined. Well, if they do for college athletics what the ACC Pac-12 Alliance did for college athletics, then we're in for a great show here. Chris Bergen now joining us from West Virginia. How are you?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
Terrific. You have a good trip?
We did. It was a couple of hours last night after a tough loss for the Chanticleers. I told you last night they'd have to play well to have a chance against JMU, and they didn't. And JMU took full advantage. I'm not sure I've ever seen a game where you had 43 points off turnovers for one of the two teams, and that's what the Dukes did last night. And they deserved to win. They were really, really good. So, but the trip afterwards got to Beckley, West Virginia. And they made it up here to Huntington this afternoon, and I'm actually sitting in the entryway to the Cam Henderson Center where Coastal and Marshall will play tomorrow afternoon.
I know people from Beckley, West Virginia. I used to know some coal miners. People had the biggest hands. You know, coal miners, they have huge hands. It's a hard business. It's a hard, tough business. You better be a big physical person if you're going to be a coal miner.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no way I would be able to do that. That is not a job. I'm glad it's sort of like, trash collection and a lot of different things. There are jobs that people do that I'm glad they do, but I couldn't do.
Producing sports talk.
That would be one of them. That falls right in line.
You got to be big. You got to be physical to handle this job, Pat Daniel. So I said, as you were coming on, if this new SEC Big Ten advisory group does for college athletics what the ACC Pac-12 Alliance did, hardy har, we're in for a great show here.
You mentioned that you believe Greg Sankey wants to be the czar of college athletics. Isn't he already that? I mean, he governs the most powerful conference in all of sports. I would think he's pretty close to that without having that title. But you're right. The Big Ten and SEC have obviously stepped forward and said, we're going to be the two conferences to lead us into the new era of college athletics, whatever shape, form, or fashion that is. And the rest of you can either jump on board or get left behind. So, but I think this is clearly a power move to start getting Power 5 football in particular away from everybody else.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I'm just glad, to be honest with you, and totally seriously here, I'm glad somebody's doing something. I'm tired of wheels spinning. I'm tired of all this nonsense of the NCAA leveling charges at schools that are meaningless. The charges are meaningless. I'm tired of this stuff. It's time for some people, some adults in the room, to take charge and to go out and make some meaningful decisions and meaningful rules that will stick. You got anything you do now when it comes to restraining the college athlete, both in terms of movement and financially, it's got to pass muster with the courts, because everybody's going to take you to court now, no matter what you try to do. If you try to put some sort of guardrails in, you try to put some restrictions in, this is the position they have put themselves in. How are you going to get it through the courts when you're challenged? That you gotta have something that will survive those kind of challenges. And I'm not sure they can come up with anything like that without having Congress give you antitrust exemptions. Listen to me, I sound like a dadgum lawyer. I should go work for Jim Corbett.
I'm impressed with your knowledge of the law, but I think you're spot on, because I think we're going to have to get to a situation, and as much as I don't want to see the federal government step in here, you've got to have some sort of federal guardrails and guidelines where teams in South Carolina are on the same plane as teams in Texas, and then are on the same planes as teams in Minnesota, and on the same plane as a team out in California. If not, you're not. This is not going to work. And hopefully, when we get into this new modern era of college athletics, whatever shape it takes, we can come up with some new nomenclature as well. And we can stop calling these kids student athletes, because let's face it, they are pro athletes. And also, let's stop the name, image, and likeness and just call it what it is. It's pay for play. The kids don't go out and market their name, image, and likeness. It's nowhere close to what it was designed to be. They're being paid to play. So let's call them what they are, pro athletes. And let's move forward from there. Stop the student athlete stuff, because how many people talk about their academics and their degrees anymore?
Yeah.
When's the last player you came out and said, boy, I was excited that I got my degree over my NIL money?
I mean, they're still pumping out the all-ACC academic team and the all-SEC academic team, and that's great. I applaud any player
I do too,
who can make good grades and play at a high level. Congratulations. But, I mean, my belief has always been, and I still believe it today, 99.9% of the fans don't give a rip. about the academic side. Never have, never will. Even less so now that the players are being paid. They're all about the W's, more so than ever before. They're also about gambling, which is why we're seeing this television explosion. I think it's why we're seeing, like I just saw of course, ESPN pats themselves on the back for everything, but the numbers, the viewership numbers, apparently for the Pro Bowl games last night, they say were way up with young kids and I guess adults as well. And I'm wondering, is there gambling on that out there? Can you get some money down on what's happening with that? I'm sure you can, and I'm sure that's got something to do because for me, as a sports fan, I see absolutely no reason to watch that. I mean, I see what is the redeeming value of sitting there and watching pro football players play dodgeball or
outside
go through
of it being funny.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. That's just me. I think I consider myself the biggest sports fan in the world, but I don't want to sit there and watch that.
Sure.
I could care less. You obviously feel like football is too dangerous to play it in an all-star game, So now you've come up with this stuff, and you got your networks involved, and you got your sponsors involved, and people are watching. So what does that say about me? Because I was
watching the Lakers and Celtics last night. The Lakers win without LeBron James and then Anthony Davis. I mean, who would want to watch that?
See, I knew you were going to get to that. I'm going to say this because I don't want to make this all about me. That's not my style here on the show to make it all about me and my teams, right? You don't hardly ever hear me talk about the Packers, the Yankees, and the Celtics. No. That was the single most sickening NBA game I have ever watched as a Celtics fan. The single most sickening performance I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot of them, and I've seen the ones that, break your heart, and I've seen the ones that make you go ecstatic. That performance, those guys, they should give the money back to the fans for that performance. That was absolutely pathetic. I mean, you were playing the JV team. Yeah, you were playing the Lakers JV team, and you mailed it in. That was an embarrassment to the entire organization. I hope some people got reamed in that locker room. And today in practice, that's the kind of performance where you come to practice the next day. There should be no basketballs. You're doing nothing but running gassers. Can you do that with professional athletes now? Can you just make them run gassers?
You can't. There's no way that would be kosher in a NBA locker room. But here's the bigger problem. That game is meaningless in the grand scheme of things. The Celtics are going to be either the 1 or 2 seed. I get it.
It's the Lakers. You got to understand if you're a
college or an NFL football game.
Well, but if you're a Celtics fan, there is nothing bigger other than winning the championship than beating the Lakers, and vice versa. The Lakers want to beat the Celtics worse than anything else. And I mean, they put a shell of a team out there, and they played great. The worst shooting 3-point team in the league goes out and makes what, 15 of 30?
19, I think it was. God. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the rare times that they've made as many 3-pointers, 19, as they made 2-pointers. 19. I mean,
they're not a good team, the Lakers. They've proven that all season long, even with LeBron and Anthony Davis. They're only a 500 team. But they look like an 800-win team with the way they played. I'm so sick. Okay, that's enough of that. I was sick.
If you had won the game without LeBron James and without Anthony Davis,
I'd have counted it. Yeah, I'd counted it.
I get that, and you should. But my point was, the season is so long. One game in early February is not going to determine and define that season. It is a bad loss, though, for the Celtics, but it doesn't hurt them anywhere close to what would happen if it happened in a college game, certainly in a football game. You drop a game like that when half the team shows up and you're really behind the 8 ball here. I think they've got plenty of room to make up for it.
I was just waiting for a time to jump in. Y'all were having a great back and forth thing. And that game last night was
that's the funny part.
Just ugly.
I don't care.
I care. I always care.
At least y'all's teams, or maybe Chris, I don't know if you're a Hornets fan too. We've never really talked about that, but at least your coach of the Celtics isn't talking about his own team having, what was the quote Clifford said yesterday, where something along the lines of like, it's not that my team doesn't hustle or work hard or something. We just lack talent. He publicly called out his team as having no talent. Like, how is practice going to go the next day? How is he expecting to have these folks want to play hard for him moving forward? I'm not sure the Hornets are going to go in any kind of upward trajectory anytime soon. So at least watching two teams look competitive last night was nice.
One team
fair.
looked competitive.
But I do have to go back a few minutes just to y'all talking about. I know we all have different opinions on it, but talking about student athletes, I at least want to point out graduation rates amongst Division I athletes has never been higher in the history of collegiate sports. Ever since the GSR was created back in 2002, back then for Division I athletes, the graduation rate in 2002 was 74%. 2023, this past May graduation, 91%. So student athletes are actually performing better now than at any point in history.
You're going to keep calling them student athletes?
Because that's what they are. 91% are graduating. I think right now we focus too much on the players that leave early, the one and dones in basketball, or the ones who leave after 3 years in baseball or football. We focus on the folks that are not graduating as opposed to those who are graduating. And I just think back to stories from whether when I was in college or cousins who were older or parents who were older in college or when y'all were in college not y'all, sorry, Chris, Phil, when you were way back when you were in college, did student athletes even go to class? Did they even care? I mean, all I ever heard about was how easy it was. In my time in college, I took lots of classes with student athletes who busted their tail and were working their heinies off to do well in school. So it cuts deep when I hear we try to demean these student athletes as not doing well in school when, again, the numbers prove that is completely factually false.
Well, and I think that's a great point to bring up, Pat. And I'm very proud of my degree, Phil. I'm sure you are as well, Pat. You are as well. And to answer your question, my roommate who played basketball in college got an electrical engineering degree and a master's in business.
Well, who wouldn't be proud of a Harvard degree? Of course, I'm proud of my degree.
Will Shipley graduated from Clemson with a perfect 4.0. That's impressive.
But the only thing I would ask about that stat, and I'm not trying to dismiss it, but how do you factor in kids who have gone through 2 or 3 or 4 different schools? What is the value of their degree versus a player who comes into Columbia or at Clemson or at Coastal Carolina and steps on the field or the floor as a freshman and walks out 4.5, 5 years later with a degree, at the same school? Are all those being factored in? As somebody who went to 4 different schools, do they factor in that 91% that you brought up, Pat, the same way that someone who steps on campus and goes all 4.5 or 5 years or 4 years and gets his degree? I don't think you can compare the two. And that's where I'd like to see a breakdown of the difference where you have kids who are getting 3 and 4 different opportunities and how much of a value their degree is versus someone who really, it appears, academics matter as much as athletics do.
That's fair. And to be honest, I don't mind sharing this. I went to 3 different schools. I transferred twice in college as well. I went far away from home, all the way to Ole Miss right out of high school, went from a private school here, Heathwood, out there, and was just too far from home. Homesick, suddenly didn't have mom and dad looking over my shoulder, got myself in trouble.
I get that.
Came back here, went to Midlands Tech for a year, busted my tail, got a 4.0 there, and then got into Clemson where I ultimately graduated with multiple degrees. And so, I mean, I was a part of that, but I held a very high GPA. So I don't necessarily, I get what you're saying, and that is a fair point. But just because you go to multiple schools too, you still have to pass the classes. You still have to get the degree. You still have to do all the examinations and whatnot. But I do get what you are saying. I just wanted to throw that in there.
1 degree, 1 school. Corn. 1 degree.
Same here.
1 school. Got it done in 4 years, $350 a semester. Parents couldn't have been happier to get me done.
Part of me almost wishes you had gone to Nebraska just so you could be a corn that was a corn husker.
That'd be pretty cool now.
It would.
That would
be great.
All right, let's go to Gamecock Larry. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. And get things rolling. Gamecock Larry has been red hot. And let's see what sort of insight he has for us tonight heading into the weekend. Gamecock Larry, welcome in. How are you? Gamecock Larry, turn your radio down. Turn the radio down. Get to your phone. Is he there?
Gamecock Larry might have fallen asleep. We can check back with him in 1 moment.
All right, do that. And then I'll also mention here that the preseason ranking for ACC baseball came out today. And the Atlantic Division, Wake Forest, number 1. The overall champion is Wake Forest. Then Clemson, NC State, Florida State, Louisville, Notre Dame, Boston College. Coastal Division, Virginia, North Carolina, Duke, Miami, Georgia Tech, West Virginia, Pitt. Again, with Wake Forest predicted to be the overall champion by the coaches. Chris Miller, football coach of extraordinary skills and talent and career, is calling it a career. Pete Yannity reported this today up at Channel 7 in Spartanburg. Former Spartanburg, Burns, and Broome head coach Chris Miller retiring after 43 seasons at the 4 area high schools and 5 state championships, a record of 168 and 88 as a head coach, spent a lot of time as an assistant coach, won state titles at Burns in 07, 08, 2010, 2011. So he was, defense was his thing, man. He could really coach defense. Tremendous coach, and congratulations to him on reaching retirement. Hope things go well. Let's try Gamecock Larry again. We're going to try him again. Did you chastise him for not being ready? Gamecock Larry.
I tried to wake him up, but I could actually hear him snoring fairly audibly on the phone. So maybe we give him another minute to wake back up. Larry, if you're listening, wake up.
Is that a true story? All right. We won't go to Gamecock Larry if he was snoring in the background. I don't think that'd be apropos. We're going to him?
No, I'm not exaggerating. He's literally snoring.
Oh, wow.
That's what Sports Talk can do for you, ladies and gentlemen. You having a hard time falling asleep? We can help you. We can help you get to those Z's in a hurry. From the Senior Bowl, South Carolina Spencer Rattler was named the top quarterback on the American team in a vote from defensive teammates. Interesting, they have the defensive guys vote on that. No surprise. I think Rattler's going to be a good pro for somebody. And also, former Gamecock running back Marshawn Lloyd with Southern Cal was named the top running back on the national team. That was a vote from the linebacker teammates at practice. So Rattler's gone out there and done some good things. And obviously, you play well in the Senior Bowl. Then you go to the combine, you have a good showing there. Your stock goes up as a quarterback. I wonder if his height is going to concern the NFL people, though you do have a number of quarterbacks, I guess, about his size and height doing well in the NFL.
When Drew Brees first came into the league, of course, that was the big knock on him. He's not tall enough. He won't be able to handle. He won't be able to see over his own offensive line, even though he was able to do it, at Purdue and in college, and didn't seem to bother him. I'm not sure that's as big a deal, and I'm not an NFL scout, so maybe it is. But I think you're right, Phil. I don't think it's nearly as big a deal as, say, it was, 15 or 20 years ago.
All right, going to hit the break here at the bottom of the hour, and we'll come back with more, including comments from USC football coach Shane Beamer. And we'll also hear from his new special teams coordinator, who was brought in from the NFL primarily with a ton of NFL experience. That's coming up after the bottom of the hour break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. Clear and cool tonight with a low dipping down to 38. Tomorrow, a bit cooler than this afternoon with a high temperature of 58, but plenty of sunshine. On Sunday, not as nice. Clouds roll in. We have a chance for late afternoon rain. They'll carry into the night and eventually in the Monday morning's dry. Have a nice weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven-baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the U.S. military launched an air assault on dozens of sites in Iraq and Syria used by Iranian-backed militias and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Friday in the opening salvo of retaliation for the drone strike that killed 3 U.S. troops in Jordan last weekend. The massive barrage of strikes by manned and unmanned aircraft hit more than 85 targets at 7 locations. A federal judge in Washington has formally postponed Donald Trump's March trial on charges of plotting to overturn the 2020 election as a key legal appeal from the former president continues to work its way through the courts. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan on Friday vacated the March 4th trial date but did not immediately set a new date. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 134 points. The Nasdaq rose 267. More details at srnnews.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair. Their team is courteous and professional. Plus, they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Are you willing to risk it all? The White House, the House, the Senate, total Democratic control. Because poll after poll shows that Donald Trump is the weakest candidate against Joe Biden. With President Trump's criminal trials and the liberal media's bias against him, we just can't risk 4 more years of Biden and Harris. The right choice, Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley crushes Biden by double digits, even in swing states Trump lost in 2020. Nikki Haley is a strong leader, a proven conservative fighter with real solutions to get our country back on track. Haley will unite Republicans and help them win up and down the ballot. Nikki Haley is our strongest candidate against Joe Biden. And with Nikki Haley, America can win again. Vote Nikki Haley.
AFC Action is responsible for the content of this advertising. Paid for by AFC Action, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. AFCAction.com.
Hey, why not try something extreme and exciting this year, like Extreme Pogo? Woohoo! Going for the backflip. Or maybe something really adventuresome, like wingsuit flying. Tree. Or maybe just try eating extremely good pizza from the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers. Hand-tossed, spring-water dough, fresh ingredients, all baked on the stove. Now that's exciting and extremely delicious. The Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
So we're debating whether or not to bring Gamecock Larry up on the air while he's sleeping. What's your vote, Chris? Yay or nay?
There's a mean streak in me, you know, that mean little kid that would take out the magnifying glass and try and burn ants during the summertime. Just to bring him up.
I didn't realize I had that kind of co-host. Burn ants?
I've heard. Now, I would never do such a thing. I've heard. But would want to bring Gamecock Larry up, but the professional broadcaster in me says, no, let's make sure he's awake and alert before we do so.
Pat's checking again. He's checking again. He's checking again. So we'll find out in just a second. Clemson today handed out extensions and raises to assistant coaches. Goodwin and Eason now in the Millionaire Club. The Compensation Committee, Clemson Board of Trustees, rewarded defensive coordinator Wes Goodwin, defensive ends coach Nick Eason for the performance of their unit last season with raises that will take them over the $1 million mark for the 24 season. They also received one-year contracts. In fact, all of the returning assistant coaches received one-year extensions and raises, except offensive coordinator Garrett Riley. His salary will remain at $2 million for 2024. He did receive a one-year extension. Sweeney, of course, added 2 new coaches this offseason, offensive line coach Matt Luke, defensive ends coach Chris Rumpf. So here's the breakdown. Russ Goodwin, a year extension through 2027. His new salary, $1.4 million, up from $850,000. Defensive line coach Nick Eason, 1-year extension through 27. 24 salary, $1.1 million, up from $800,000. Cornerbacks coach Mike Reed, 1-year extension, 24 salary will be $900,000, up from $800,000. Safeties coach Mickey Kahn, again, they all got 1-year extensions, so I'll stop mentioning that. His 24 salary, $900,000, up from $800,000. Tight ends coach Kyle Richardson goes from $500,000 to $600,000. Receivers coach Tyler Grisham, $450,000 to $550,000. Running backs coach C.J. Spiller, $450,000 to $550,000. And again, Riley got the 1-year extension, but his salary will remain the same. So,
two things on that, Phil. I think first off, Nick Eason is a rising star. I think that's a really smart decision on Clemson's side of the coin. And also, did they put a Boston College clause in Mike Reed's contract? Because I've seen his name starting to be rumored about to replace Jeff Hafley up at BC.
Yeah. I don't know. I got to believe that if he gets an opportunity to become a head coach at his alma mater.
Right. It'd be hard to tell him no, right?
Exactly. And of course, that would pay him more than what he's getting at Clemson, too, when you add it all up. All right. So, Gamecock Larry, did you roust him? Okay. Let's give it a whirl one more time. Gamecock Larry, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Phil, how you know I was asleep?
Well, either
I did doze off. I was laying here thinking. I wonder if they put me on when I was kind of dozed. But I told you I was eating out. I'm getting to be an old man. I got to rest when I can.
I understand. You've had a hard week.
Well, we got a good week so far. So I'll tell you what, the ladies played the worst game of the season last night and still won by 22. Now that's a pretty good thing, isn't it? You play your worst game you played all season and still win by 22. Man, oh man, we gonna go.
Well, that's just that's their depth. That's the quality of their depth. They have a starter out with an illness. They can bring somebody in who could just as easily be a starter, and they don't miss a beat.
Oh, that's good depth, and also we got a good coach. Number 2, we gonna have to beat Georgia tomorrow. When we beat Georgia, then we gotta win Sunday when Ole Miss come to town, and Ole Miss might give us a run for our money. But Monday afternoon, I'm gonna call back in for the second week in a row. 4-0. But ask Pat, did it have me snowing? I gotta.
Well, we just heard you keep. I heard you keep saying. I heard you keep saying, "Mama, come and get me." Mama, come and get me.
Okay, you all have a good weekend. I love all y'all, but you have to forgive the old man, okay?
Actually, it really wasn't. It wasn't Mama. I just didn't want to say what you were really saying. So,
Nah, we love you, Larry.
Larry, I'm glad we could help you. I'm glad we could help you get to REM sleep. I hope you're getting some good REM sleep going on there.
Okay, have a good one. Love all y'all. Talk to you later.
All right.
Night, Larry.
All
good,
next week.
Larry.
All right, Larry. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We did have him snoring, didn't we?
Yes. Oh, he was genuinely snoring. Hey, he was hopefully having some good dreams, probably about his Gamecocks, probably right now about the great men's and women's basketball teams, the seasons they're having. So he's probably having some good dreams these nights.
I would think so if he's thinking about his Gamecocks. All right. Speaking of the Gamecocks, today Shane Beamer had a meeting with the media late this morning, where he officially introduced his new special teams coach, who also carries an additional title with him, Joe DeCamillis. But primarily, he's going to be the special teams coordinator, and he comes in with a tremendous reputation from a long career in the NFL. He spent last year working as an analyst with Texas. Almost went back to the NFL until this opportunity came to pass. Let's listen to some comments from Beamer first about his new hire and some things about his team. Here's Shane Beamer.
All right, appreciate it. Sorry we're a couple minutes late. Just finished up a team workout out there on the field with our guys. Love the way they're working right now. It's been a really good 3 weeks here in the month of January, recruiting-wise. Today's the last day that we're allowed to be out on the road recruiting. So we've been out pretty much every day the last 3 weeks and seen a lot of great prospects, been into a lot of high schools and new rule this year where we're able to have contact with 2025s, meaning juniors in high school, and sit down and visit with them. So that's been awesome, being able to have their families come up to the high school and be able to sit down with them legally. It's really helped a lot, and have enjoyed our time out as well. We've had prospects in the last 3 weekends, including the weekend coming up as well, for visits here on our campus. We've got a good group of guys that'll be here tomorrow and Sunday, and then recruiting travel part of it and visit shut down for a while. That's what February is. February is a dead period after this weekend, and then cranks back up in March. But I've gotten a lot done recruiting wise over the last month. I want to thank everyone that's created some awesome environments in Colonial Life for basketball games. We've had a lot of recruits there, and like I told everyone last week when I spoke at the basketball game, those environments resonate. And wherever I go, recruiting wise, seems like both of our basketball teams and their success continues to come up. So congrats to them, Don and Lamont, and thanks to our fans for the environment that have been created for our recruits that have been there. I was down at the Senior Bowl on Wednesday and had a chance to watch Xavier and Spencer practice, and it's great seeing those guys. First of all, two great representatives of our program, so really enjoyed getting to watch them, but also getting to talk to them and visit with them, and been great getting to hear from so many NFL personnel while we were down in Mobile that afternoon about both those guys and how impressive they've been, not just on the field in practice, but in interviews that take place down at the Senior Bowl and whatnot as well. So wish them luck in the game tomorrow. And then Marcellus Dial, I know, was part of the East-West game this week, East-West Shrine game, and heard great things, great feedback from that week. Also, eager now that recruiting travel closes up this week, eager to really completely jump in with our current team in the month of February. That's what February is. We've been utilizing some times during the week within recruiting like we did this morning with our team. But since no one's going on the road recruiting after today, all of February will be with our players and here in Columbia, and excited about the progress they've made in the weight room over the last month, and looking forward to completely jumping in with them. Like I said, as we gear up towards the start of spring practice, I think David asked me last time, that'll be Tuesday, March 19th. I believe that's the correct date. So Tuesday, March 19th will be our spring game as well. So I know you're all here to meet Joe today. Could not be more pumped about him joining our staff. He's jumped right in to everything with our players, our staff, full speed ahead with him. Someone who our relationship goes back, I guess, 20 plus years back to when I was an assistant coach at Mississippi State. And my dad brought Joe up to visit with the staff at Virginia Tech from a special teams standpoint. He was with the Falcons at the time. And a lot of the things my dad did on special teams all the way to the end of his career are things that he learned from Joe that day. He was with the Atlanta Falcons at the time. We had a kickoff return till the day my dad retired called Falcon that Joe had installed when he came to Virginia Tech. The pump protection we used at Virginia Tech was what Joe had taught my dad that day as well. And I guess it's longer than 20 years. I was a graduate assistant at Georgia Tech back in 2000, and that was the year that Mike Vick got drafted by the Falcons and Dan Reeves. And I was living in Atlanta and went up to Flowery Branch to watch them practice some. And I guess that's when we first connected and have just kept in touch over the years. foundation that the foundation that my dad did a lot of his stuff, I said, came from Joe, and then myself included. A lot of the things that I believe in and have done as a special teams coordinator, learned from him. Carolina ties, his father-in-law, God rest his soul, was Dan Reeves, great Gamecock as well. So this place has a special place in his heart as well. He's about relationships. It's cool hearing from so many guys that he has been around in the NFL. I got a text message from Spencer Lanning the other day. Not many people in here remember Spencer other than maybe Reggie, Hale, and David. So the Pete baby as well. Some of the old guard as well. But Spencer sent me a text message about Joe as well. I said it last week when I talked to you guys at the basketball game. I wasn't going to hire a special teams coordinator unless I felt like I could bring in somebody that could truly make us better and was a star at that. And when you are able to hire a guy that's been in the NFL for 30 plus years, has won 2 Super Bowls, has been an interim head coach, had other NFL teams, not to get too into that, but had other NFL teams that were trying to hire him last week and chose to stay in the college game as opposed to going back to the NFL. I mean, it's a huge statement about our program, and will be and is already an awesome hire for us. The year that he spent at the University of Texas last year, I think, gave him great conviction that college game is pretty special and where he wants to be. And obviously that speaks volumes that he chose to come here as well. Talk to those guys at Texas, some of the players and coaches out there that I know, and that's what they said, is they couldn't believe that this guy hadn't been in college football his entire career because of the way that he was able to affect that team, connect, build relationships on and off the field, without a doubt as well. So he'll make us better, and this is an awesome hire for us, and one that I know Gamecock fans are really ecstatic about.
Hey Shane, are you more excited for Joe, the special teams coach who can revitalize things, or Joe, just the guy who'll be a couple doors down and you can pick the brain of and learn more and grow?
I'd say both. Great question. Both, very much. I mean, wherever he's been, I've always kept in touch with him. I mean, there was a time he was the special teams coach of the Jaguars, and I was here working with Coach Spurrier, and there was an assistant special teams job open on his staff that I was very intrigued by, and it didn't work out. And I'm blessed; it worked out for everybody. Who knows what happens if that move happens? But here I am today, and that's the perfect way for this thing to go. But whether he was with Jacksonville or whether he was with the Dallas Cowboys or the Atlanta Falcons or Los Angeles Rams, I kept in touch with him and always tried to pick his brain from a special team standpoint, drills standpoint, because he's brilliant. And the fact of the matter is, he's one of the greatest special teams coaches in the history of the game of football. I mean, that's just facts. So from a special team standpoint, absolutely. Then the fact that he's been around the college game for a year and has been able to add that, because the college game's different, the rules are different, and field dimensions are different. But being able to take that and add to what he's already done, but then just his background. I mean, I'd be crazy not to pick his brain on stuff. He's won Super Bowls. He just coached in a college football playoff game and won a conference championship with Texas. And I know he was very connected with Coach Sarkisian with a lot of that. And he and I had a great conversation about Joe, Coach Sarkisian and I did. And that's one thing he said. So just being able to, kind of like with the special teams coach, no matter who you are, you have to have relationships with everyone on the team. It's the same thing. If you're a special teams coach, you've got to be involved in all 3 phases of the game management and things like that as well. And I love that part of it, but being able to pick his brain on the strategy, the game management, team building, all that as well. Special teams wise, you've got to be able to motivate everyone to play special teams. And I've watched him live and in practice, and don't know if anybody does it better.
Shane Beamer from earlier today. We'll hear from Joe DeCamillis in the second hour, and certainly sounds like Chris, from everything Beamer has said this offseason, really likes the hires that he has made, and he kind of feels like that if he hasn't improved in those positions, he's at least met the level that was left behind by those that departed his hiring of the moving of Step over to tight end. It seems like that's going to work out just fine. And bringing Coley in to coach wide receivers as part of that move after Jody Wright left. And now, of course, he hired a new running backs coach. The thing is, there were a lot of people suggesting that he was going to make massive changes after this past season. Right. You know, this guy was going to be gone. That guy was going to be gone. He actually only fired one of his coaches, and that was the running back coach. Everything else was made, the moves were made out of necessity, starting, of course, when Jody Wright got the head coaching job at Murray State. So then he moves the tight ends coach over. He hires Coley. Then he loses his special teams coach to become the head coach at Buffalo. And so he has to go hire a new special teams coach. So he really only made one decision on his own, at least at this point. You know, funny things happen after the second signing day, but I don't foresee anything else happening with this staff unless somebody leaves for some other position, a head coaching job or something like that. I don't see anything else happening with this staff at this particular time.
What I find most interesting about the changes on the USC staff, Phil, if you had asked us or any Gamecock fan at the end of the season, Shane Beamer is going to have, 4 positions that change during the offseason, every one of them you would have thought would come on the defensive side, right? Because if you asked USC fans during the season, they felt pretty comfortable with the offense except for the running game. Yeah. They felt pretty comfortable, even though the special teams probably not as good as it was the year prior under Pete Limbo. But everything has come on the offensive side if you lump in the special teams. And you talk about the trying to at least meet the standard that has been set. Deacon Millis has a pretty big task in front of him because Pete Limbo set that special teams unit up for success at all times. But it's fascinating to me. Shane Beamer talked about, he remembers this guy when he went to visit with his dad, and Virginia Tech actually instituted some of the concepts that he employed during a clinic. And just gives you an idea, I think, of the respect that Shane Beamer had from a long time ago for Joe T. Camillus. And this opportunity to hire him, I think, was set in stone from many, many years ago.
Yeah, good point. And so we have a start date for USC Spring Ball, March 19th. David Hood from TigerNet reported that from what he's hearing, it looks like Clemson spring practice will start on February 28th with their spring game on April the 6th. Okay? We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Hi, yes, I'll have the club sandwich and house salad.
You got it, sweetie. I'll throw in a pair of designer sunglasses as well.
Just lunch, thanks.
How about a week at my boss's oceanfront villa?
What?
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Today's special, a trip to low Earth orbit in a private spaceship.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
George Bryant here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and wow, Tsunami Robbie, there is now an amazing technology that you can use when you train receiving large game without having to endure pain. Please explain.
George, that is the magic combination. I have 3 simple words to define that entire concept. Stimulation, not annihilation. Regardless of your training goals, there is a level of stimulation that is optimal for your desired gains. Tsunami Bar's flexible bar technology meets these demands because the user determines the level of stimulation with the amount of speed and force they impart into the bar or training device.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
When trouble comes like the accidents do, we all get sick and the bills pile too. There's only one number that can help see you through. And if you're healthy, here's what you should do. Call 605-7905. That's the number that you need to know. 605-7905. $0 deductible. What's a deductible, you say? That's the price you have to pay before the insurance will say we'll help you. They keep the number out of reach because they know that you won't reach that number because they know you're healthy. 605-7905. $0 deductible. 605-7905. 727 is the area code.
Coming up on the top of the hour here on Sports Talk, phone number 888-898-2525. Couple of other quick notes. Liam Cohen going back to the NFL after a season back at Kentucky as a QB coach, OC coach. He is headed to Tampa Bay to fill that position on the offensive staff there. The latest bracketology from Joe Lunardi of ESPN. The Gamecocks are now at number 6 seed playing Indiana State in Memphis. Wonder if Larry Bird would go to that game. If Larry Bird's there, Corn is there. And Clemson, the number 7 seed, playing the Nebraska Corn Huskers in Pittsburgh. That's what he's got. Former Gamecock standout defensive back Corey Peoples expected to be hired by Georgia Tech as their new defensive back coach. He's been at Georgia State. Let's go to Bruce in Mizzou. Next phone call here on Sports Talk before the top of the hour. Welcome in, Bruce. How are you?
Wow, following Gamecock Larry is an honor, man, I tell you.
Especially when he's snoring on the air. Yes, that's quite the honor.
He deserves a rest. Give him peace. He deserves it. He's got a lot of energy.
Don't say rest in peace to him. That might be taking it a bit too far.
Well, he's in another zone, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, Tyler, now listening to Beamer, I had, when he got the job, I just came on and backed him up. If y'all will leave him alone, he will be one of the greatest coaches you ever had. He's going to follow his father's footprint in that position. What his father did, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. I was hired by Clemson University, straight out of college, to be over the photography staff at Clemson University.
Go quickly. We got about 30 seconds.
So anyway, I knew they were going to block the punt at the goal line at the Clemson, and they did block the punt. And I got it on film and put it out. And I got it called up. We don't do that at Clemson. We want to show Clemson's players, not the other team. So, but that's Beamer's ball.
Yep. Hey, we got to run. Thank you, but you're right. His dad did establish it, and he's trying to pick up on it, and we'll be back.
UXL Columbia W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from Town Hall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Personal relationship is revealed between the district attorney and a special prosecutor involved in the Georgia election interference case against former President Donald Trump. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
A court filing discloses that Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis is involved in a relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Willis hired Wade in 2021 to assist her investigation into whether Trump and others broke any laws as they tried to overturn his loss in the 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Willis argues there's no reason to dismiss the case or remove her from the prosecution. The filing by Willis's team came in response to a motion filed by a defense attorney who represents Trump co-defendant Michael Roman. The motion seeks to dismiss the case and to have Willis and Wade barred from prosecuting the case. I'm Mike Hempen.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump's election plot trial in Washington, scheduled for next month, has been postponed.
A judge formally postponed the trial in a case charging the former president with trying to overturn the 2020 election before leaving office. The judge is waiting for a federal appeals court to resolve a pending appeal from Trump. He and his lawyers argue that he's immune from prosecution for actions he took in the White House.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston reporting. The U.S. military launched an air assault on dozens of sites in Iraq and Syria used by Iranian-backed militias and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Friday in the opening salvo of retaliation for the drone strike that killed 3 U.S. troops in Jordan last weekend. The massive barrage of strikes by manned and unmanned aircraft hit more than 85 targets at 7 locations. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 134 points, the Nasdaq rose 267. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor pain relief. It's natural pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. It's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Many church leaders don't seem to realize or understand Marxism has infiltrated the American church.
Letter to the American Church, a riveting new film from best-selling author Eric Metaxas.
They want to silence us. It's everything that John 10:10 tells us about, where it's the enemy has come to steal and destroy. There's a war that's raging.
This is the hour of the American church.
Letter to the American Church, streaming February 8th on Epic TV, part of Epic Times. This film is not yet rated.
Tesla is recalling nearly all the vehicles it sold in the U.S. because some warning lights on the instrument panel are too small.
The recall will be accomplished through an online software update, which Tesla says is already in the pipeline. The feds say that the brake, park, and anti-lock brake warning lights have a smaller font size than mandated by federal safety standards. That can make crucial safety information tough to read, increasing the risk of a crash. Tesla has already started releasing the required software update. Rich Thomason reporting.
Hardly a day goes by without news of another set of layoffs or business failure in journalism, an industry in the midst of a decades-long decline, which has only seemed to accelerate lately. The news website The Messenger, in business for less than a year, folded abruptly on Wednesday. That follows announcements of job cuts at the LA Times. News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. Clear and cool tonight with a low dipping down to 38. Tomorrow, a bit cooler than this afternoon with a high temperature of 58, but plenty of sunshine. On Sunday, not as nice. Clouds roll in. We have a chance for late afternoon rain that will carry into the night and eventually into Monday morning's dry. Have a nice weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, we're back. Hour number 2, Sports Talk Media Network. Great to have you with us. Phil Kornblut here, Pat Daniel here. And up there in the mountains of West Virginia, we have Chris Bergen. All right, so we heard from Shane Beamer talking about Joe DeCamillis, his new special teams coach, and is it assistant or associate head coach? Whatever. He's got one of those titles, associate head coach. Kind of the same thing that he had before in that setting. And he's got an older guy that he can talk to and run things by and kind of be a sounding board for him. So sounds like a win-win situation there for Beamer. And here is Joe DeCamillis. He was at the press conference today as well. He needed to be because he was being officially introduced. Here he is as he gave some opening comments, then took some questions.
You're jumping in where maybe some others are saying, you know, maybe I don't want to be part of this anymore. What do you see about the future of college football going forward and able to navigate some of these new wrinkles?
Well, first of all, I think in the kicking game, just talking about special teams overall, I think you can affect the college game a lot more than you can in the NFL. Example, against Texas Tech, the last game, we covered 7 kickoffs, right? You don't cover 7 kickoffs in a game, in a year in the NFL. So that is intriguing. I think you can affect the game a lot more in college than you can in the NFL right now, in my opinion, in the kicking game. That's the first thing. But the NIL and the collectives and all the stuff that's going on right now, it kind of goes back to when free agency really started in the National Football League. And the teams that knew how to navigate that, they rolled. Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers. The teams that really knew how to operate in that arena, they were the ones that got the spoils of it. And I think that's what you're entering into right now. I think the better you are at it, the better you're going to be overall, right? And I do think that, you know, people think that that's going to not make it as pure a game. I think it's more pure, a lot more pure in college than it is in the NFL. I mean, I know right now there's nobody in the college game that's tanking. They're not trying to lose games to make sure they get a better draft choice, which to me, that's what you're talking about. That's what it's all about, in my opinion, is winning.
What does it mean to you to work for a head coach in Shane Beamer who puts so much of an emphasis on special teams on game day?
I mean, that's why part of the reason I'm sitting here, because I know what it means. You know, I mean, he was raised from his dad. His dad, like, when he called me to do that clinic, I was like, somebody's messing with me. That's not Frank Beamer, because at that time, there was nobody that was a better special teams guy, and probably really since. So it was an honor to be there, but I know the importance of it. And really, when you think about it, it's all about complementary football. You know, everyone says special teams, offense, defense, but how do we mesh it together? How does it work together? And I think that's what you have to look at. I don't want to be looked at as he's got the number one special teams. That's great, but did it help us win games? That's the most important thing going forward. I think that's got to be on our minds, and stats and all that other stuff. That's all great, but if we play complementary football the right way, we're going to be just fine.
What's the key to getting kids excited about playing special teams?
Well, I think part of it obviously comes from the head coach. You have to have an organization that wants them to, or that they know the importance of it. And then the other part of it is, that's another thing about college I think that's better than the pro game, is you're trying to develop a player that wants to be a great player on offense or defense, okay? But if they show that they're a good player on teams, a lot of times he gets confidence in him, okay? The defensive coordinator, Clayton, gets confidence in him. Dow gets confidence in him. The receiver coach gets confidence in him. When you see him block tackle, when you see him run with the ball in their hands and do things that are positive, then it has a chance to help them all the way across. And you've got to show them, hey, man, if you do this right, you're going to get more playing time on offense or defense. I don't want just a guy that's going to just play teams all the time. I mean, yeah, they're great to have, but I want to see a guy graduate. I want to see a guy turn into a great player, and that's part of developing players, in my opinion.
Also, what stories did Coach Reeves share with you about his time at South Carolina, just his love for the Gamecocks?
He had a great time here. He had a chance, just to tell you what kind of person he was, he had a chance after the All-Star game in Georgia. He wasn't as highly recruited. He came to South Carolina, gave his word to come to South Carolina. He had a chance to go to Alabama, had a chance to go to Georgia. He said, no, I've given my word to this man. I'm gonna go up there and play for him. And I actually worked for Coach Bass, who was Dan's college coach. He was kind of the one that helped me out when I first got started, because Dan had hired him there. But just really how great a place this is. He always talked about it in a way that was special, and I'm glad to be part of this special for sure.
I know you're probably still trying to learn all your players' names and familiar faces and all that, but after seeing them on the field this morning and maybe from what else you've looked at on tape or whatever, what are your impressions of the guys you're going to get to work with this?
Oh, I think there's some real talent. I think they've done a great job of recruiting here, and it's starting to pay off. You can see that on the field. You saw that on the film that I saw. I mean, last year was last year, but there was a lot of injury situations that occur, and that's gonna hurt a lot of teams, no matter who you are. So I think that they've done a great job of getting people here. I'm excited about it. The one thing, and I was talking to him about this today, is in pro football you don't have near the numbers. At a college practice, it's unbelievable. So I'm trying to study the way they look, how they, what their names are, all that kind of stuff. They have it easy because they can say, "Hey, coach, we don't have that same thing." So, it's that'll be a challenge, but I think we got a lot of great players here, and hopefully we can get them going in the right direction.
All right, Joe D. Camillus, in an age, Chris, where college coaches are fleeing the game because they don't want to deal with NIL. They don't want to deal with transfer portal. John, here's an older coach coming from the NFL, and he's ecstatic about coming to college football and giving it a shot.
I thought Pete Iacobelli's question to him right off the bat in that soundbite we played was fascinating to me. I thought it was really interesting because you're right. Here's Jeff Hafley leaving Boston College to go work with the Green Bay Packers. Kentucky's OC, as we pointed out, he's leaving to go to the NFL. And here's a guy up until last year, that's all he had ever coached was in the NFL. And he talked about special teams in college, and this was really interesting to me, how it can affect change more so than it ever could in the NFL. And I think he's right. Those 7 kickoffs he said they covered for the Longhorns against Texas Tech last year, more than he would have a chance to cover in an entire NFL season. I don't know that he's wrong, Phil, because I would bet if you want to look at a weird prop bet for the Super Bowl next weekend, kickoffs that aren't touchbacks, I bet it would be under 1. I mean, it's either going to be 1 or none that you get an opportunity to return a kickoff because the kickers in the NFL are so good. They kick every kickoff into the back of the end zone. So you don't get that opportunity. So I think he's spot on, and I think he likes that challenge, that opportunity maybe to do some things at the collegiate level that he never got to do at the NFL.
Yeah. Speaking of those prop bets, we'll have Lee Sterling with us next week.
Excellent.
He's working on his prop bets and everything else around the Super Bowl for us, so he'll be with us next week. And with that, let's go to the break. When we come back, we'll give you the recruiting report for tonight. We'll also talk about the basketball games coming up tomorrow, in particular, Virginia and Clemson and South Carolina, Georgia. Looking at some of the notes on Virginia, they're getting it together. They've won 5 in a row, 3rd in the country in points allowed per game. So they're playing their style of ball under Tony Bennett, who's just a phenomenal coach. Been at Virginia since the 2010 season, and they've played great defense. Every year he's been there, they have been, except for, his first 2 seasons, but every year since his first 2 seasons, his teams have been ranked in the top 6 nationally in points allowed per game. Right now, they're 3rd, allowing 57 points per game. That is consistency. That's the thing. You know what you're going to get when you face a Tony Bennett team. There's no question about it.
Better protect the basketball and execute on offense because every single possession, it's going to be a rock fight tomorrow at Little John. And it's something I think Clemson's geared up for because that's Brad Brownell. He wants to play defense and keep it in a half-court game. But I think free throw shooting is going to be critically important tomorrow, and turnovers obviously are going to be big. And clearly, Clemson cannot get dominated off the backboards the way Louisville did. That was a bad Louisville team and didn't come back to haunt them. If Virginia dominates the backboards and collects as many offensive rebounds as the Cardinals did, Clemson's got no shot tomorrow.
I make the argument, and you can counter me when we come back, that Brad Brownell is a better coach when he has players who are not so offensive-minded but are more defensive-minded. You'd like to have players who can do both. Hard to get that at Clemson, but I maintain they're better when they're like that. Be right back.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
You put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Last year was a big year for Founders Federal Credit Union and our amazing members. A total of $30 million was given back to qualifying members in the form of loyalty bonus dividends, proving once again that it pays to be a Founders member. Founders is also committed to pouring time and resources into the local communities we serve. If you aren't a member yet, what are you waiting for? Join Founders today. Visit foundersfcu.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required.
Timeout.
All right. Remember, we're a team that plays together. Listen, the winning will take care of itself. We just have to get everyone involved.
In interscholastic sports, we celebrate what makes every one of us unique. And in the pursuit of a common goal, everyone in the huddle, in the bleachers, and in the community comes together. This message presented by the SCHSL and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, it's the fall in South Carolina. That means it's deer season. What do people need to know about?
That's right, Phil. It is deer season. We always want to remind hunters to identify your target. Know the identifying features of the game you're hunting. Make sure that it's a deer before you take that shot. When walking to and from your stand in low light, use a flashlight so that no one will mistake you for a deer. For more information on hunting safety and more information on deer season, listen to our show on Wednesday nights on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, recruiting report time here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawells. Another big week of the daily luncheon buffet is behind us now. I hope you got a chance to get over there once or twice, maybe 3 times. If I were you, I'd just have my lunch there every day. 11 to 2, a great menu, a different menu every day, capped by typically the roast beef Friday attraction, rated number 1 in the world in buffets by your friends here at Sports Talk. So next week, make sure you get to Seawells multiple times to enjoy the daily luncheon buffet. It's only $14, and they have a wide variety of great food on the menu. For the very best in the catering business, you give Seawells a call as well. 803-771-7385 online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So, a player South Carolina is focusing on is tight end Marshall Pritchett, 6'5", 205. He's out of Charleston, but he goes to school in Rabun Gap, Georgia. He's at not sure it's a prep school. It's an away school, I guess you could say. But they have a high-caliber football program. He was a primary target of Jody Wright's when he was at South Carolina. Then when the changes happened and Justin Stepp took over at South Carolina as the tight end coach, he picked right up on it, and he's done a good job of stepping in and filling in the gap. And he really likes Justin Stepp. They've known each other for a while. He said he's starting to narrow things down. In South Carolina, he said, is definitely in it. If he could have a top 5 right now, he said South Carolina would definitely be in it. He's been talking to Shane Beamer, Dowell Loggins, about how they would use him as a hybrid-style tight end, and watching the team last season with Trey Knox, Josh Simon, even Nick Harbor. He saw how they would use these bigger guys, and he liked what he saw from the Gamecocks last season. Was there for a couple of games last season. So they've put themselves in good shape with him right now. And, of course, being the home state school with him was something that's kind of important as well. So in January, he went to North Carolina, Duke, and Miami. Today, he went to Georgia Tech. He's going to Georgia tomorrow. And Sunday, he plans to visit Wisconsin. Last season, he caught 46 passes, 600. weekend for the 2024 recruiting season. Signing day comes up on Wednesday. From the standpoint of USC and Clemson, they appear set with their high school signees for the 24 class, focused totally on the 25 recruits and beyond, unless they surprise us. Now, there's always a chance of having a surprise. I'm just saying based on what we know right now. The Gamecocks signed 15 high school recruits and 1 junior college transfer in December and have since added 18 signees to the transfer portal, John, to give them 34. Clemson signed 22 high school prospects in December and has not added any players from the portal, John. 2 prospects are confirmed to have visits set with USC Saturday. One is Hammond tight end Mike Tyler, and the other is linebacker Zayden Walker of Ellaville, Georgia. There could be others, but those are the 2 that have been confirmed by us and others as being at South Carolina this weekend. New USC offers. The highlight one today was that the Gamecocks offered from Heathwood Hall cornerback Onis Kananbani. And I think it was just a matter of time before they got around to offering him. He is considered nationally one of the better cornerback prospects out there. So the Gamecocks have joined the others on his offer list, and we'll see what happens with him and with them from there. So Onis Cannonberry gets the offer from South Carolina. Other new offers from the Gamecocks: linebacker Cameron White, Riverview, Florida; running back Tavion Swint, Kissimmee, Florida; cornerback Mark Manfred of Marietta, Georgia. Those are all in the 25 class. In the 26 class, new offers from the Gamecocks: linebacker Kedrick Golston, Washington; defensive end Carter Meadows, Washington; linebacker Tyson Harley, Washington. They're all teammates at Gonzaga High School. Wide receiver Caden Prothrode, Carrollton, Georgia; defensive end Hezekiah Harrison, Anniston, Alabama; linebacker Elijah Littlejohn, Charlotte. In the 27 class, cornerback Cadron Crumell, Knightdale, North Carolina; defensive back Xavion Miller of Richmond; defensive end Jaden Jones of Jeffersonville, Georgia. And that's it for the Gamecocks. USC 2026 commitment quarterback Landon Duckworth was offered by Texas A&M and Arkansas. J.L. Mann quarterback Ethan Anderson accepted a PWO offer from Clemson. The Tigers offered linebacker Chase Taylor, 6'3", 210 of Stockbridge, Georgia. Other visits this weekend: defensive end Anthony Addison from Sumter to West Virginia. Was offered by West Virginia. So he was offered by West Virginia. He's actually visiting Tennessee tomorrow, but he was offered by West Virginia. Clemson target offensive tackle Mal Waldrop was at Auburn today. He's going to go to Alabama tomorrow. USC target quarterback Ryan Montgomery will be at Florida this weekend. USC target linebacker Mantrez Walker will be at Florida. USC target center Isaac Soles will visit Indiana tomorrow and Kentucky on Sunday. Clemson and USC target safety Jordan Young will be at Florida State tomorrow. Clemson target offensive tackle Mason Short will visit Florida. USC target cornerback Christopher Hatfield, West Virginia. A lot of folks in West Virginia this weekend, Chris. You're up there with the stars, man. Clemson target cornerback DJ Pickett will visit Oregon. Ridgeview receiver Stephen Collier goes to Virginia. Blythewood defensive end Sterling Sanders will visit Florida. And Gaffney offensive tackle Shed Surratt will visit Florida. Those are planned visits. Of course, things can change and guys can cancel, not show up, whatever. But that's what they have planned at this point. Remember to keep an eye on our X page at SportsTalkSC, on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, as we'll update things as we see them over the weekend. There you go with recruiting, brought to you by Seawells. Okay, let's talk some basketball.
Yeah, 2 other South Carolina celebrities are up here as well. Here in Huntington, of course, the head coach at Marshall is the famous Dan D'Antoni, who has helped author the Myrtle Beach, the Beach Ball Classic, and also longtime head coach at Socastee High School, and also the bad boy of sports radio.
Oh.
Smothers is evidently in town as well for the weekend.
Oh, well.
Already heard from Alan.
I was going to say, are you guys going to be boys and hang out tonight?
We are not tonight. I may try and catch up with him before the ball game tomorrow. It's a doubleheader tomorrow here, so I should have a little bit of time before the men tip off to say hello to the bad boy. It's always good to catch up with him.
Will he be sitting on the Marshall bench?
He may try. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in Kelly green and white, though. Probably not in teal, black, and bronze. I'm pretty positive.
Yeah. That guy's got more favorite teams than NC State, Marshall, Coastal. All right, so let's talk about South Carolina, Georgia. Gamecocks going to play in Athens tomorrow. Of course, they lost to Georgia earlier in the season. Overall, they've had the upper hand against Georgia in recent years. Georgia coming in 14-7, 4-4 in the SEC. They have played people well. I mean, they played Tennessee well at home, lost that game, played Alabama well at home the other night, lost that game. The Gamecocks are going to bring their defense. You know that. Can they keep it up? I mean, game after game, the question is, can they keep it up with what they've been doing to this point?
You wonder the mentality of Georgia going into this game, Phil. You talked about their game against Alabama. That was a contest. At one point in time, they led 17-2 and ultimately gave up, I think, 58 points to Alabama or something ridiculous like that in the second half and lost the game. You wonder in a game like that, does that linger? And if you're the Gamecocks, you certainly hope so, and you want to take advantage of that tomorrow afternoon. And I always feel like the early afternoon games favor the road team as opposed to the home team because the teams don't have to stay around in the hotel. They get up, eat breakfast, go to the gym and go play. And clearly, South Carolina should have won the first game. Make your free throws. It's not a contest. They went 7-8 points, but they didn't. They missed their free throws, and they also got beaten on the backboards, and they can't allow that to happen. They've been the more physical team for the most part here of late during this win streak. They've got to keep that up tomorrow. They've got to rebound and knock some balls loose. They only forced 7 turnovers out of Georgia in the first go-round, and can't foul them. We can't have a game like we did the first go-round where we had, 60 free throw attempts between the two. That's not basketball. Nobody wants to see that. So keep them off the foul line, and I think the Gamecocks are the better team if they can do those three things.
Georgia coming in averaging 77 points a game, so another team that can score. But South Carolina hasn't been fearful of that, and they've done a nice job holding high-scoring teams down like Kentucky and Tennessee. All right, let's go to Clemson and Virginia. And again, a situation where Clemson can kind of right the ship, I think, by getting a win tomorrow over a very good, though not a ranked Virginia team, still a highly regarded Virginia team.
Massive game, I think, Phil, in the ACC tomorrow. You've got Duke and North Carolina that'll get all the focus. But I think in terms of the tournament, this may actually be more important. North Carolina and Duke are going to be in the NCAA tournament. The latest projections I've seen, the ACC right now sitting on about 3 bids, and the other one being Clemson. Virginia right now sitting on the bubble. They come in knowing tomorrow that's a quad 1 quality win on the road, and they're going to bring their defense too. And Clemson has got to match that intensity and find a way, as I mentioned earlier, don't get beat off the backboards and take care of the basketball because every possession in a game with Virginia is so critical. Got to find a way to score when you have the ball.
Yeah, and considering they've got road games with North Carolina and Syracuse coming up, you don't want to miss this one at home, this opportunity.
No.
All right, going to hit the break. We got birdies, bogeys, and biceps coming up. George Bryan will join us. Special guest will be Will Miles, a former All-American at South Carolina. That's coming up after the break here on Sports Talk.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. Clear and cool tonight with a low dipping down to 38. Tomorrow, a bit cooler than this afternoon with a high temperature of 58, but plenty of sunshine. On Sunday, not as nice. Clouds roll in. We have a chance for late afternoon rain spells carry into the night and eventually in the Monday morning dry. Have a nice weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Thinking about investing in a hot tub? Great idea. Hot tubs offer relaxing hydrotherapy for tired muscles and stressed minds. But beware, all spas are not the same. At Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, we offer hot spring and free flow spas exclusively for the quality, energy efficiency, and affordability. And we have everything to keep your spa and pool sparkling, clean, and crystal clear. Come see it all at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive, and JackOliverPools.com.
Reuters reporting the U.S. military has launched an air assault on dozens of sites in Iraq and Syria used by Iranian-backed militias and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. It's the opening salvo of retaliation for the drone strike that killed 3 U.S. troops in Jordan last weekend. The massive barrage of strikes hit more than 85 targets at 7 locations, including command and control headquarters, intelligence centers, rockets and missiles, drone and ammunition storage sites, and other facilities. A federal judge in Washington formally postponed Donald Trump's March trial on charges of plotting to overturn the 2020 election, as a key legal appeal from the former president remains unresolved in the courts. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 134 points, the Nasdaq rose 267, the S&P 500 advanced 52. More details at srnnews.com.
Every month you get a power bill, and every time you look at it, you realize you have very little control of that bill. If you want to take some control, it's time to reach out and talk to the folks at Broker Solar. Listen, solar power is not for everyone. It is a commitment, but the rewards are well worth it, not because of the politicians and the media and the green this and the green that and that. It's worth it because it'll save you money on the long term. It'll give you control of your power bill, and there are some great tax advantages available. But you know what? You need to do your homework. Don't get fooled by the guy putting lawn signs in the grass, offering something too good to be true. I've known the owners of Broker Solar for more than 20 years. I trust Ken and his team, and I believe you should too. They are local. They are legitimate. I've been to multiple homes where they've installed solar power. The technology is phenomenal, and I am a believer. See for yourself. Online, it's brokersolar.com, or call Ken at 807-7417. That's 807-7417. It's Broker Solar.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
You want to remodel. Actually, you need to remodel. I'm Eddie Springer of Trey-Cal Builders, and with us, remodeling is easy. Whether it's your kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, or even the whole house that needs an upgrade, at Trey-Cal, we'll help you every step of the way. We do first-class work quickly, cleanly, and affordably. Call 360-8211, 360-8211, or visit TRECALbuilders.com. Trey-Cal Builders, quality from start to finish.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee bit. That's when my caddy lost sight of it. That little white pellet has never been found to this day. But it went straight down the middle.
After a very, very hectic week here on Sports Talk, like 9.5 hours of nonstop gabbing, it's time to kick back, relax, put your feet up, pour yourself a little tan-covered beverage into a clean glass, and talk about the nice, easy game of golf. Now, George hates when I make it sound like golf puts you to sleep. We know better than that, George. Golf can be as exciting as entertaining, as enthusiastic as anything out there.
And you nailed it. It can be peaceful. What a day we had in South Carolina and right here in the Midlands. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of privilege now, we are in a privileged state, especially for golf. We have a very special guest with us, and I darked it at Salina Golf Club with this guest, former All-American at the University of South Carolina and All-Conference. So Will Miles, we will get him. We got to get him to the tee quick. This guy is a lot of fun, enjoys the game thoroughly, and can't wait to mix it up with him. There's a lot for us to discuss, a lot to cover.
Well, let's do it. He's standing by. He's on the tee box with you right now.
Bring him to the tee. Will Miles. He's got all kind of nicknames, and he's really, right now I can call him one of my children because he's technically a Brian bro. Sort of.
Is one of his nicknames Will Hit It Country Miles?
Oh, I'm telling you, I played golf with him, and it was at least that. I couldn't throw it by him. So where my drive was, hey, let's bring him to the tee. I'll tell you a story later. Welcome, Will. Come on in.
Thanks, G3. Appreciate you having me on tonight. What a day we had out there. It was beautiful.
Oh, and nothing like it on a February day when it gets up over 60 degrees.
Ooh.
Brand new golf course. Phil, I can't wait to have you out. And
yeah,
Patrick, you can't go far.
My phone must have been charging when you called me to invite me to come out and play with you guys today. So try me again next week.
I will, and I'm so sorry. I just got carried away, and I was kind of lost out there. I was watching, but we want to go back over the credentials here for Will Hit It a Country Mile. He's got all kind of nicknames. He's George and Wesley, one of their younger brothers. Will recently graduated. He's going to fill us in exactly 1 year, but former All-American and All-Conference at the University of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Looked him up on the internet just now or a few hours ago while I was out watching, because one of the young fans hanging around, and he was a camera guy, cart guy, says, "Hey, are you good?" I thought it was beautiful. What a question. So he still got, as far as the internet says, he's still got a scoring record in an NCAA event down at a great golf course, Palmetto. So, Will Miles, welcome. We had a blast. Tell me some of your nicknames. What are you called by Brian Bros and others?
Mudball is probably my biggest nickname. I got that one in college. Maybe complaining a little bit too much when it rained a little bit, and the assistant coach nicknamed me Mudball, and it just kind of stuck. Mudball Miles.
I like that. Mudball. That's great.
Yeah. So that was a fun one that our old assistant coach, Jake Amos, gave me. Man, everything that comes out of Wesley's mouth, it's you never know what you're going to get. So I can get a new nickname almost every day I'm with him.
Yeah. And so speaking of Wesley, you spent some time caddying for Wesley, but the real, let's get to what's most important. You got a lot of games. Take us through where you went from South Carolina. Bring us up to speed. Where are you now?
Yeah, so graduated in 2019 from Carolina. Decided to turn pro and play a little bit after school. Had some status on the PGA Tour Canada and Latin America. Did a lot of Korn Ferry Monday qualifiers and Q School and all that good stuff. Mini tours as well. Did that for probably better part of 2.5, 3 years. And then kind of that last year, Wesley was looking for a caddy, and I was looking for just a little bit of a change of pace, so decided to give it a go. And we had a great run out on the PGA Tour for a season. Had a blast doing it, learned a lot, got to visit a lot of cool places, and it was a great experience. So did that, kind of wrap that up middle of last year, and decided to get into the working world. Just playing some recreational golf right now.
Well, that's we had the privilege today to play, and you haven't lost a step. His game spectacular, and one of the holes I hit my best drive of the day, and it was the closest one to him. Still, you couldn't holler, and he didn't know. My eyes aren't good enough. He was a small little blob, a blur. He was so far away. So I decided to try to throw my ball from where I was to see if I could get it to his ball. Well, I couldn't do it. So he hits it. You're right, a country mile. And so, Will, when I play golf with you, I left today. Cannot wait to play tomorrow. Talk a little bit about what you enjoy about our great game.
Well, first of all, I just love being outside, being outdoors, especially on a day like today. Early February and getting it in the 70s is perfect. And getting out to Salina was awesome. What awesome new spot out there. Yeah, and then the people, you get a good foursome of guys and girls. It's hard to have a better time. Find a better way to spend an afternoon than out on a golf course. And then the challenge, of course, it is challenging and it'll test you mentally and physically. And so that part was a lot of fun in college and afterwards. So, but loved it as a kid when you could just go out by yourself. You didn't need a team full of people to go out there and play. You can, play until dark during the summer and come home, eat some dinner and go back out and do it all again tomorrow. So just fell in love with it from an early age and, still love the game, even though not playing as consistently as I used to, but still love the sport.
Hey, we're going to take you down the road and ask you a lot of questions. And so Phil and Patrick, I will wear him out with questions. Y'all better jump in and ask if you want. I do have another one, though. You've been out on the tour and talk a little bit about the state of the game. We've had the conversation on the live, about the live, talk about that, talk about what you appreciate as a caddy and what you've seen out on the PGA Tour in the last short period of time, Will.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time in golf for sure, with the creation of Live and then some news this week on the PGA Tour signing a deal with a private equity group. So it's kind of been a fractured golf world, not having the best players in the world play together all the time like they used to. But, as far as talent-wise, there's so many young guys coming out of college. We saw it earlier this year with Nick Dunlap, who was at Alabama, and he won a PGA Tour event. So, there's so many young, talented guys making their presence known in the professional rank. Caleb Surratt's another one. He just joined Live and played his first tournament today. So I tell you what, the game seems to be getting younger and younger, and the kids just seem to be getting better and better and hitting it farther. And the game's in a really good spot. I would love to see the professional guys come back together every week and play together. But I think it's in a decent spot compared to probably a year ago. And then real quick, G3, I'll give a quick shout out. My old teammate, Keenan Husky, is playing on the Korn Ferry Tour this week, and he made a hole-in-one today. Made the cut. He's in the top 25 heading to the weekend.
And you had we had a little 59 today. Had a little 59 today on the Live Tour.
That's right. Joaquin Neiman.
Yeah.
That's impressive stuff. Fun? I'm telling you, these guys just aren't scared of anything and just go low every week.
That's we had that conversation about just how good they were today. Don't necessarily have to jump and take off down that road. I think these young players are way better than their scoring. That's another topic. And Phil, Patrick, y'all got any questions? Jump in. And Will, Patrick he loves the game. He might try to take a little nap on me every now and then, but I call him out.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'll jump in and give you one here. And it's a bit of sad news, but also want to turn it into good news. I just actually saw this. Former NFL linebacker who then turned into a Hollywood star, probably most known for playing Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies. But then also, in a personal favorite movie of mine, he was Chubbs Peterson and Happy Gilmore, the golf instructor who helped Adam Sandler turn from a kind of a vagabond hockey player into a star golfer in that movie. He passed away today at the age of 76, so that was sad. But it makes me think back and reflect to Happy Gilmore. And one of my favorite movies as a kid, and it's one of the movies that actually got me into golf. It got me excited to play golf. And then, of course, I was very confused about golf etiquette because I was watching Happy Gilmore and very, very different from what you actually see on a golf course. But where I'm going with this is today's day and age, especially with the live golf, and now we're starting to see the PGA Tour adopt this a little bit. You think of the Ryder Cup, you think of the 17th hole out in Phoenix, and there's starting to be more fan participation. There's starting to be a little bit more, quote unquote, like debauchery being allowed at golf events. Maybe not at the Masters or things like that, but at certain times, certain places. Would love to get your thoughts on that, because I'm guessing we're about the same age, so you probably grew up watching Happy Gilmore as well. Just your thoughts on how movies like that are affecting golf today and just kind of the evolution of the sport in modern times.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore, an awesome movie. Tin Cup was another favorite of mine. But yeah, I've definitely seen a trend into changing the product on the golf course a little bit, and for the fans, which I think is a great thing. You still have your your meccas like Augusta National, and this week they're at Pebble Beach, where you kind of get the history of the game too. But I think it's a good thing. It's all about got to evolve the TV product to make it more interesting for the fans. You got to make the experience at the tournaments a little bit more fun for the fans and for the younger kids, because that's the next generation that's going to be playing the game, and you got to get more people into it. And G3 is a great one to go to and send your kids to learn about the game. He's done a great job for a long time.
Ain't no doubt about that. But I want to remind you, and maybe G3 didn't share this with you, that when you're talking to me, the Corn, you're talking to a course record holder at the Scramble. Don't know if you played the Scramble yet over there, but I did set the course record at the Scramble of 16. Was it 16? Let me think. Par 3.
The Scramble's fun. It's awesome.
2 under. I shot. Would you have you broken 16?
I think I have. Not to burst your bubble. And I definitely know Wesley has. I've been a part of it. Wesley has.
That was unofficial. I mean, I had the first. Okay, we'll move on from that. What I wanted to ask you, and thanks for playing along. What I wanted to ask you, though, in your career, professionally or as an amateur, the favorite course that you ever played. Did you ever get a chance to play Augusta National? Did you ever get a chance to play Pebble Beach? I mean, those courses or others. Have you played those, or there's some others that you have played that really stand out in your mind around the world?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick story. I was fortunate enough to play Augusta National my senior year of college. I had a family friend that was able to let me and my dad come out for my birthday that year. Ooh. And we got there about 45 minutes before the tee time. You're not supposed to show up too early. And then, so we show up, go in the locker room, change our shoes, washing my hands, and hear a voice in the locker room that I've heard 1,000 times. And I look up in the mirror, and it's Peyton Manning behind me.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow. Peyton Manning was there with Jerome Bettis and Rick Barnes, the basketball coach at Tennessee. I grew up a huge Peyton Manning fan. So that was an absolute highlight for me. And my dad was also a big fan of his. So got to play Augusta National, and what an unbelievable place. I didn't play my best golf. I think I was so in awe of the golf course, but it definitely lives up to the hype, and just such a special place.
I can imagine. Once you played there, I guess everything else is second place.
There's some other good secrets out there that don't get as much run, but Augusta's certainly special. Golf over in Scotland, really unique and a very cool experience. I got to play Royal Dornoch over there. Probably not one that will ring a lot of bells for folks, but just a true golfing experience. That certainly should be on people's bucket list.
George, well,
Hey, I tell you,
go ahead.
no, he didn't mention Palmetto. He had still. I didn't follow up to see if he still got the collegiate record, but I would have thought that would have been on the short list. Now, Will, he's got at the Palmetto Intercollegiate. He held the scoring record at Palmetto for a number of years. And I think he's probably still got it.
It's certainly on my list. G3. If you want to bring it back stateside, there's so much good golf in South Carolina. I mean, Palmetto's in a historic venue. I had a special week there in college. We won there as a team, which was a lot of fun. You've got Congaree down in the Low Country, Harbor Town. We're just very fortunate with where we live to have so much good golf in our area. And the New Salina Club here in Columbia will be a great spot too.
Yeah, I'm waiting on my invite to get out there. Real quick before you guys before we lose you, I want to get through the two tours here real quick. We can comment on what's happening this weekend. So we do have Pebble Beach. And by the way, I was saying last night, George, they had a camera angle. I don't know what hole it was. Had a camera angle facing shooting a tee box with the ocean behind the guys. And the angle made it look like the Pacific Ocean was going to swallow these guys. You could see the big waves behind them as they were teeing off. It's just simply awesome. But the leaderboard, Thomas Dietrich and Scotty Scheffler. Scheffler is 64, Dietrich a 65, and also Ludwig Aberg a 65. So Dietrich is 70, Aberg is 65, Scheffler is 64. They are tied at 11 under par. Patrick Cantlay is 70. He's at 10 under par. Justin Thomas is 67. He's at 9 under par with a few others. We only have one state player in the field, Lucas Glover, 74, plus 3 for him. Rory is 74 today, plus 1. Jordan Spieth is 69. He's at minus 3. And then the Live Golf event, I think it's in Mexico, is it not? Mayakoba, is that in Mexico?
Yes.
Okay. And so we mentioned Joaquin Niemann going out shooting 12 under 59 for him. Patrick Reed, 7 under for him. Their scoreboard's different. Sergio Garcia. It's hard to read their scoreboard. They just give you the two against par score. They don't give you the actual figure. Sergio Garcia, 6 under. John Rahm, 5 under. Well, I tell you what, guys, Dustin Johnson, 4 under. I'm seeing more. Brooks Koepka, 2 under. If you're wondering where all, not all, but many of the big names have gone, they're over here. I hate to say it from that standpoint, but that's where they are. What do you think? What do you think about hearing all these names over here, but not over there?
You first, Will.
Well, I touched on it a little bit earlier. I'd like to see everybody back together. Seeing John Rahm go was a big bummer. What a special player he is. So much talent. Can win every week. Yeah, I'd like to see them all together, but certainly a lot of big names over on the Live Tour. I think Rahm, even though he's, 7 back, you can't ever count him out because he can go low over the next 2 days. And then as far as Pebble's concerned, Scotty's going to be tough to beat as well, as good as he plays and hits the ball. I think the weather's supposed to get a little bit dicey over the next 2 days with wind and rain, but Justin Thomas is probably another name I'd keep my eye on. I think he's only 2 or 3 back with two days to go. So love to hear your thoughts, G3.
Hey, I kind of like to see things change. And I never was a hater of the Live Tour. part of the reason is I had probably a little more insight just from the back office. It's not going to be publicized probably for quite some time. Don't want to go down that road, but there's the league have split a little bit like this live shakeup's a little bit like the owners lockout, the players strike, and the league split, some odd combination. Usually when there's shakeup split, it's going to evolve. The new fruit's going to look pretty good. And you mentioned a little something about announcement this week. I didn't pay much attention. It's hard to figure out what the real truth is. But I will tell you, and you touched on it a little bit, Wesley and George both spent last week with John Rahm. And I don't know, did Wesley speak anything about their week with John Rahm? Hey, if you can definitely go check them out on their YouTube channel and all that went on, and I haven't watched it yet. But
yeah, they put out a great video on YouTube with John. It's about an hour long. Pretty fun match to go watch. They didn't mention a ton about it, their time with John. I know they had a great time, and they said he's looking forward to mixing things up a little bit and going over to live. But certainly a new face over there and a massive get for that league.
Hey, speak just a little bit about what goes on with the Bryan brothers and what they bring into the game. And I do think that we're going to be looking at other outlets just besides straight TV. Anyway, we got just a minute or two left. Talk a little bit about what you've seen with what the Bryan bros bring to the game.
Yeah, it's just a different platform to make golf a little bit more fun and more entertaining, cater more to the golf fan, whether you've been playing for 30 years or you just picked it up yesterday or have never touched a club. I think it's just fun to kind of be able to see their personalities and get up close and personal, feel like you know them a little bit. So just adds a total fun element to the game. And like I said earlier, I think the TV product has gotten a little bit stale, and the YouTube videos, the Twitch streaming that they do is a cool outlet to see a different side of the pros. They're all humans just like us. It might not seem like it watching them on TV, but they're just like us. They love to have fun, love to enjoy the game of golf, and their platform is definitely doing that, giving everybody a little bit of access to a little bit more fun.
Well, and you're one of the Bryan bros. And
I'm an honorary Bryan brother.
Hey, I've been encouraging Phil and Patrick. I've been encouraging this young man to come on back into the golf industry. He's already a Bryan bro, so why not coach and teach? Hey, there's that music. Hey, what a privilege to have you on, Bud Ball. And we'll do it again. Hey, Patrick, Phil, until next week, see them high but shoot them low. And yeah, Phil, you're going to get an invite, but so will you, Patrick.
Can't wait. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Will. Thank you, George. GB3, Birdies, Bogies, Biceps across South Carolina, brought to you by Tsunami Bar Sports. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
UXL Columbia W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. After days of warning that a retaliation for the deaths of 3 U.S. soldiers